I want to thank all of you for coming. Let me start out by saying two things. One, I want to introduce everybody that's standing up with me. I'll have them introduce themselves. Spell your last name and what your role is.
Susie Taweel, T-A-W-E-E-L. I'm Deputy Chief of the Special Victims Unit.
Tina Moynihan, last name's M-O-Y-N-A-H-A-N, Assistant Prosecutor with the Domestic Violence Unit.
Kelly Gleason, G-L-E-A-S-O-N. I'm the Chief of the Special Victims Unit.
And
your first name?
K-E-L-L-I-E.
And of course, you know the chief. You know, it simply said the most dangerous time in any kind of domestic violence case is when what usually is the woman is trying to leave the relationship. It's absolutely the most dangerous, heinous time. Patrice Wilson, by all accounts, was a hardworking woman, great mother, great family person, and well respected in her job as a nurse at the Detroit Medical Center. She was simply trying to live her life, work hard, and break off a relationship that she knew was not good for her. The defendant was a man that allegedly would not leave her alone, would not respond to her wishes to leave her alone. Again, the most dangerous time, the most violent time for a domestic violence victim is when she's trying to leave. People were outraged when they heard about this particular case of someone that was taken forcibly from their job at the end of their shift. But unfortunately, this is what we see all the time in domestic violence cases, especially those that turn into homicides. The evidence in this case will show that this defendant was responsible for the death of Ms. Wilson and the other crimes that we are, and they are numerous, that we are alleging today. Today we are charging, and I've authorized the following charges against Jemere Miller: 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of felony murder, 1 count of carjacking, 1 count of armed robbery, 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm, and 5 counts of 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm, and 5 counts of felony firearm. The defendant will be arraigned today at 36th District Court at 1:30 p.m. All of the details and all the details of the extensive investigation that was done by the Detroit Police Department, assisted by our office, by the Special Victims Unit, extensive work that was done. It will all be displayed in the courtroom at the preliminary examination and later at the proceedings in this case. Thank you. Chief.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor, and just want to thank you and your team for their hard work. I want to thank the members of the Detroit Police Department, specifically our homicide unit, for this very, very sad case. Hopefully this brings some degree of closure to the family and certainly justice to this family. The work that everyone has put into this case, this senseless act of violence, should not have happened, but I'm very happy with the prosecutor's work, the charges. I've never seen a relationship with our two agencies be better than it is now. We're going to continue to work very hard with the prosecutor's office. So that's all I really have. Just want to say thank you for this case and the hard work that went into it.
And thank you, Chief, and your team for what you've done in this case. It was extraordinary. Let me just repeat those charges again since I ballsed them up a little bit. 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of felony murder, that's first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count of carjacking, 1 count of armed robbery, 1 count of felon in possession, and 5 counts of felony firearm. Again, he'll be arraigned today at 1:30. We'll take questions, but we will not be taking any questions about any other case, any other issue, just this case.
Does your deciding to come public and talk about this case in particular come on the heels of the red flag laws and an intent to draw more attention to domestic violence, or the why now of holding a briefing in regard to this case, as horrific as it is?
Yeah, I haven't had a briefing in a while,
right.
In person anyway. And no, it's not, but you're right, it's very much intertwined. And we will be placing information on our website and out to all of you later on about places that women, not just women, but people who have been abused, people who have been victims of domestic violence can turn to. There are many places. And I urge them very strongly to turn to that help because help is available. It's just a nice confluence of events. Certainly the red flag laws is something I was very involved in. It's something that can prevent a lot of crimes that we can see. And we're very proud that that was passed by the state, but there really was no connection in this case other than the subject matter.
Seems to be a pattern, perhaps, with this defendant with other victims. Does that play into this particular case at all?
I'm not going to comment on that, and certainly if we have anything else to investigate, we will be investigating.
There was some time between charging decision and his arrest. What was going on during that time in your office?
I feel very strongly about taking our time, doing it right. He was in custody already, so that meant we can take our time that we usually try to anyway, but we weren't up against any clock to get things done. There was a lot to go through, as you will find out as you follow this trial, a lot to go through. a lot of time, probably, I want to say almost 24/7, that was worked on by these two prosecutors in our team here. Lots of evidence to go through. Again, you'll hear about it, but there was a lot to do. And we did not feel rushed because we knew that he was not a danger to the public currently since he was in custody. So we always try to do it right. I'm often criticized for taking too long, but when you, as a prosecutor, when you sign your name to either an arrest warrant, a search warrant, or a series of charges, you're responsible for that, and we try to do it right. We try to base anything that we do based on the evidence that we have at the time, and there's no reason to rush it. We want to get it right because we are severely affecting people's lives, whether it's the defendant himself or herself, or the victims of a crime, or the deceased family.
Why do you think this case in particular got so much attention from us, just in general?
I think I don't know why people get your attention, but I think this case is very relatable. It was a woman that had a relationship with a man that she was trying to get out of. It was a woman that was hardworking, was simply leaving her job that day to get home to her family. And I think everybody can relate to that. And everybody can hope that nothing like that will happen to them. So I think that's why, because it is relatable. Sometimes when you hear about different homicides, as tragic, as important they all are. They all are important. But sometimes you just don't relate to any set of alleged facts that you hear. And I think in this case you certainly can.
One fact we heard, I don't know if it's a proven fact or not, was the blonde wig. He was in disguise to try to just ambush her in a way? Is that?
Well, that will come out in court, but that was an aspect of this case, and we talk about that in the release. That is something that he did have on, very odd to me, but that's certainly a factor in this case as well.
If I may, there's cameras everywhere. Was this on camera for her abduction?
That'll come out in the trial. But, you know, domestic violence, it crosses all, there's no borders. I mean, socioeconomic borders, race borders, I mean, it is what it is, and it's you know, when, as the prosecutor indicated, when at the time the victim decides to leave, it's the most dangerous time, and we see it. And so I'm not surprised at what occurred. It's unfortunate, it's sad, it's tragic, and we need to do something more. And I'm hopeful that, you know, this will spur on more change, but no, it's a very tragic event.
I don't know if this has been publicized before or not, because that's why I'm asking, but can you give some context into her efforts to break this off over how long a period? Had she gone to law enforcement or sought a restraining order, anything?
Again, that's not something I'm going to address at this time. It feels a little bit like victim blaming, and I don't want to do that. And so anything that's relevant in this case will come out either at the exam or any subsequent hearings that you may have. Let me just say this, and I'm glad you brought up the red flag laws. As an office, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office gets, on average, 10,000 requests from law enforcement a year, 10,000 cases. And so domestic violence is a huge issue in every single city in the county of Wayne. No city in Wayne County of the 43 cities is immune. Fortunately, this year we've seen a decrease in domestic violence homicides, but we had, a couple of years ago, we had 32 domestic violence homicides in 1 year. Fortunately, we're not going to get anywhere near that, I hope, this year. So that is a positive for us, but each and every victim has lost their life. And domestic violence homicide is a tragic situation, and it's one that I hope people will begin to take seriously and seek help for our victims and assist. If you know someone who's a victim or you know someone that's having trouble, please, please, please let them know that there are resources out there available.
Is there a number one thing people can hear right now that they should do if they're in that situation they're watching?
Again, seek help. I think family members, friends, close associates, they may see something that doesn't seem right. I think we should not ignore it, and that comes to child abuse, elder abuse, any of our units under the Special Victims Unit. If you see something that doesn't seem right, try to do something about it. Sometimes you may be rebuffed by the victim. Sometimes they may not like it, but I think to take that chance is worth, and you may be saving a life. And again, there are resources that are available that we have listed on our website.
Understanding you can't talk about the case directly, but I'm interested was there anything red flag laws would have helped her with in this case, given her more tools or options to, you know, keep him away, or is that a jump or a leap you don't want to make with what you know now?
I don't know about that in this particular case, but I can tell you that in a lot of cases, lives can be spared.
Right.
Absolutely. I don't understand anyone's opposition to these laws. I don't get it, but it does happen. Some people are opposed to it. But here in Wayne, no. And in Wayne County, we will enforce it. The Detroit Police Department will enforce it, the police chiefs will enforce it, and this office will enforce it. So any information that we can to save a life in any genre of cases that we do is very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to leave the press release on the table. And they'll be set electronically.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been, we're trying to decide when we do last. That's why it's not
That's
working.
why it's not working.
Alexis.
I love Dad. I love Dad. Good try, Dad. It's just a couple little letters at the end.